Welcome back to another episode of the Autistic Voice Project. VOICE stands for Validating Our Identity, Culture, and Experience. I'm Matt Lowry, LPP, your co-host from Kentucky.
I am Dr. Erin Findley, your co-host from California.
And if you are an avid listener of the show, you know that we are autistic. We talk about autistic experiences. And if you listened to the last episode, you'll know that we are going to be talking about anxiety, cross-neurotype relationships, Cassandra Syndrome, how the brain works, and all sorts of other neat stuff. If you missed the last episode, it might be good to go ahead and catch up on that, because if you do it in reverse order, you might be a bit confused. Although, who am I to judge your podcast listening habits?
That's right.
Erin, you needed a bit of time to compose your thoughts. You've, at this point, had a week because timey-wimey things.
Right. It's been a week, but it feels like just a few minutes.
This is a polychronic thing where we have different times and perceive times differently. Because as we record this, our listeners in the future are saying, Erin, you've had a week. What's up with this? We're in the future now. Where is this? But we are in the present, which is actually your past. So we may need extra time, but if you do, we will pause and you will have extra time and the listeners won't, because we are like that.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Damian Milton came up with a theory in I want to say about 2012.
The Dante's Inferno guy?
No, Damian Milton. And now you're getting me all confused. Damian Milton.
Literature nerds are having a fun time with this.
Milton, who is an autistic psychologist, I think?
Yes, he is.
In the UK, he came up with a theory to replace theory of mind called the double empathy problem.
And what is theory of mind again?
Theory of mind is the idea that autistic people cannot understand. Well, let me back up. Theory of mind, because precise and pedantic, is globally speaking the idea that we as humans need to understand the perspectives and viewpoints of other humans. And it's the idea that humans are capable of that. Okay? Of mind stuff has been applied to autistic people in a very ableist and disableist manner.
Yes.
Stating that autistic people cannot understand the perspective of other people. We can't put ourselves in somebody else's shoes, which is complete bullcrap.
Because it would be very unhelpful in our roles, in a therapy perspective, to be unable to do that.
Right. So Damian Milton came up with a better explanation of what's happening, which is the double empathy problem. And the double empathy problem, in a nutshell, is the idea that people with different social signaling styles tend to misunderstand each other. And it's called double because it's a problem that happens on both sides, right? So it's not a single direction the autistic person fails to recognize what's happening in the neurotypical person or the allistic person, but the allistic person does everything perfectly. Double empathy problem says, no, the signals don't meet. They're going like this, right? And so there's more of a likelihood that those things, with those social communications, will actually be missed and misunderstood.
Like you were saying about the time thing, that people don't understand that other people perceive time differently. And if we don't know how we think, it makes it difficult to understand how other people think, and that other people might think differently than we think. Hence the need for communication.
You think? So the idea and experience of allistic people who are married to autistic people who feel victimized by the autistic person being autistic.
Oh my. Oh, what a shame. Why did they marry an autistic person if they didn't want to have the autism?
That's a different question. And I can't answer that question. But what I can tell you is, and I want to be very clear here, the Cassandra syndrome is completely wrong and off base. And
that's good to clarify.
And I have a lot of empathy for the people who are suffering because they're in relationships where they and their autistic partner don't function well. Okay?
Yeah.
Because I'm certain that those autistic partners are not functioning or having a happy, satisfying relationship either. Right?
Yeah.
So one of the fundamental problems with the Cassandra syndrome is it centered the allistic person as the person who is right and the person who is being harmed, right?
Yeah.
And completely disregards the experience of the autistic partner and the needs of the autistic partner.
The broken weirdo, as they say.
Or the broken weirdo, right?
Yeah.
Because the dynamic is all about my autistic partner does all of these things, and I wish they would just stop and basically be not autistic, right?
Yeah.
And instead of coming into the conversation with a deep respect for your nervous system has needs, just like my nervous system has needs, and let's find out how we can meet our nervous system's needs together and or with support, right? That's the healthy approach, right?
Interdependence, where each partner takes care of the other in ways
Healthy interdependence.
In ways that are understood and appreciated by each partner respectively.
Correct. And it decenters and in fact discards the idea of either person's style being right or anybody's style being right for that matter, right? Because
that sounds invalidating.
Well, yeah, I mean, once one person's style is right and somebody else has to be wrong, and in a relationship of two people, there's only one option for the wrong person, right? For the wrong person.
Yeah.
And so that's not a good relationship strategy. That's not a good way to experience relationship health. It is a way to stay miserable.
Yes. Do dualistics ever drag their autistic spouse to couples therapy to have you, quote unquote, fix them?
I am lucky that I don't get a lot of that. If they did, first of all, during the screening process, I might not accept them as clients.
Yeah, I do that.
If the allistic client is not open to thinking about mutuality in the relationship, then I won't accept them as a client, because it's not worth my energy to fight that particular battle at that depth. That's really something for the allistic partner's individual therapist to be focusing on.
Yeah.
But what I do encounter in the clients that I do work with is people of differing neurotypes who struggle with the idea of what they think autism is.
Ooh, because it's all trains and chicken nuggets then.
Well, and trains and chicken nuggets are perfectly fine, right? There's nothing wrong with trains or chicken nuggets.
I do love a train and a chicken nugget, and chicken nuggets served on trains are an autistic paradise.
I mean, I've not yet experienced chicken nuggets served on trains. I should see if the Napa wine train has a chicken nugget meal, because if you ever come out here, then we can have trains on trains and chicken nuggets. Anyways,
you'd be surprised how much a train adds to my excitement for a trip. Because if I can ride on a train, I will go. Regular listeners of the old podcast know that I suffer from a condition that I call Bilbo Baggins syndrome. Because I like to live in my hobbit hole. I like to eat around 7 meals a day. And I don't like to go out on adventures. But if I do have an unexpected journey, if there's a train there, it makes it easier. Bilbo never got a train, and that is a shame. But
that is a shame. Yeah.
It is. But that's the thing. When we come at this and we have to learn how other people function, we have to have this respect for other neurotypes and to know that other people are neither more nor less. It's just a different operating system.
Exactly. If you have an iPhone and I have an Android or vice versa, like, who gives a flip that I have an iPhone or an Android as long as we can text each other? Right?
Yeah.
Like,
and
who
that's
cares?
the effective communication. The systems need to be able to interface. And
Correct.
This is one of the things about, especially when going to therapy for anxiety, going to therapy for depression, going to therapy for all the stuff that bothers autistic people, because we need to have informed people, informed therapists to say, yes, you're working under this operating system. So this, and this might be issues. Have you thought about that? Have you thought about setting a timer so that you remember to eat throughout the day? I didn't realize I had to do that. How many meals have you had today? People eat meals every day? Yes.
Sometimes many times a day.
Exactly. You mean that people don't run exclusively on coffee and saltines? Which I am unfortunately a victim of today, because I have eaten coffee and saltines, and I will need to go get food at some point because my interoceptive needs are nothing. They should be. I need to work on that. But as far as anxiety goes...
There's a reason that I drink liquid IV all day, because that actually keeps me hydrated, and it tastes good. Well, yeah, I need the electrolytes too, but it tastes good, and unlike other beverages, Mexican Coke, it doesn't give me migraines. I love Mexican Coke. Don't get me wrong. Oh my God. I could drink that shit all day, every day, for every single beverage that I drink. It's so delicious, but it gives me migraines.
It's the same reason that I don't order Papa John's, because, while I enjoy the pizza, the gastrointestinal distress is not worth it.
Oh my God. Yeah, I the last time I visited, this is a total side note, but the last time
the way we talk, yes.
Right. The last time I visited Atlanta, we had Papa John's, and it was so delicious. I used to live in Texas for a while, and so I liked Papa John's and remembered liking it. I was so happy to have it. And then my guts were like, and up yours. Yes. Everyone out. The party is now over. And it was in the middle of a train. Which was terrible.
Yeah,
it was terrible.
That's when you just say, I'm going to be outside on that train railing for a bit because no bathroom shall hold this.
That's right. But yes. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, you might want to bring in some priests to, exorcise the demons afterwards.
Exactly. Papa John's, bringing you racism and gastrointestinal distress since the 1980s.
Yeah.
But
anyways, where were we?
Autistic anxiety, understanding neurotypes, understanding many things. Go from there, yes.
That reminds me. Another aspect of autistic anxiety that I really want to name, it's very important, is actually, it's rooted in developmental trauma.
Ooh,
developmental
tell us about
trauma
this.
is the combination of bad things happening in the context of an absent, abusive, or neglectful caregiving environment. And
Ouch.
Many of us, I know, right?
Yeah.
Many of us have parents who loved us dearly, but couldn't attune to us properly because they didn't know we were autistic.
Yeah.
Or they did know, but they didn't know what that meant in terms of our attunement and connection needs.
Yeah.
Or they had their own trauma. Again, I'm not here to demonize anybody, but just to...
Humans be humaning.
Humans be humaning, and many humans are hurt humans.
A
lot of humans are hurt humans. And so hurt humans, when they become parents, sometimes they're not perfect parents, right? Not a surprise, really. So anyways, when you get that chronic misattunement, especially when it's severe chronic misattunement, that creates the environment of developmental trauma. When you add bad events on top of that, which we are more statistically prone to experience because we don't read neurotypical and allistic social signals the way that we might otherwise if we were allistic or neurotypical, we often end up in situations that we don't know how to manage.
Yeah.
And so that combination is a combination that's very, very common among autistic people, other neurotypes too, but particularly among autistic people. And one of the outcomes of experiencing developmental trauma as a child is increased anxiety.
Yep. Especially since, like you said, with the experiences, because we are very direct, we are very open, we tend to be relatively trustworthy, and therefore get taken advantage of a lot.
We believe other people are as well.
Exactly. We believe that other people are as well-meaning as us. It leads us into rough situations. The latest statistics show that 94% of autistic women are sexually assaulted before the age of 18.
Yeah.
And we end up in, I don't know, doing a podcast with somebody who takes advantage of you. Can't imagine if that's ever happened to anyone. But,
Breathe, Matthew.
Yeah. And this is a thing, because we learn that the world is a dangerous place, and therefore, in order to survive the world, we do what we think is adaptive. We think that we're learning from our mistakes and we're making good choices in order to avoid these negative things in the future, but they might actually be what we call maladaptive. Maladaptive means
they're adaptive.
Tell us about this.
They're adaptive in the moment. I just want to again
Tell
be
us.
precise / pedantic, whatever.
This is the way.
This is the way. It's maladaptive in our current lives, but at the time that developed, it was absolutely needed for our survival. And this is something I tell my clients 100 times out of 100. Your mind and body does not create a defense for no reason, right?
Yes.
We don't create defenses we don't need. So whatever those defenses were, whatever those strategies were, whatever the rules were that got into that rule book, we needed that at the time. The problem comes in when those rules, strategies, defenses, whatever you want to call them, get applied in different circumstances where they actually don't fit. Then they cause us harm.
Because you craft a certain tool to work in a certain situation. And it works great in that situation. It helps you get out of the jam. But you can't use that tool in a different situation because it doesn't apply. But that's the only tool that you have.
Right. Especially when you don't have anybody teaching you better tools or healthier tools.
Ooh.
Which,
if
again,
only there was some sort of...
Those human parents are not going to be teaching us those. The ones who are, injured and perhaps developmentally traumatized themselves.
Yes.
Anyways, and you were saying.
Yes. That makes up a tricky thing because, again, because of our amygdala, because of our adverse life experiences, because of... You've heard the word amygdala before. Neat.
Oh, yeah.
Being a psychologist and all. How about that?
Yeah.
Small world.
I know, right?
The amygdala is the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, all sorts of things.
Appease.
Emergency center of the brain that causes you to do things in response to danger. And we have a hyperdense, hyperconnected amygdala that makes us more likely to be traumatized by stuff that would not traumatize a neurotypical person. And because of all these adverse experiences, because of all these big emotions, because of the amygdala, because of all of these things, this can actually accidentally create a generational sort of issue where parents pass along messages that might not be as helpful as they would be otherwise because they didn't know any better. And
that happens in allistic people too.
It does.
But again, it's something that gets magnified, I think, for autistic people.
Because everything for us is, more intense.
I mean, we're lightning rods and magnifiers.
Yeah. And this is the thing, because for the longest time, again, it was taught that we are robots that have no emotions, that we are stoic,
I do not
stalwarts.
know what you are talking about.
Yeah. We need to talk about Murderbot. Oh, my God. Yes. But, we'll save that for another episode because we're running low on time for today. But, man, Murderbot's such a great show, such a great series of books. But anyway, yes, it's one of those things where you learn the patterns. And if you've been told that your emotions are too big, you shut them down. because it's a survival mechanism. It's an adaptive strategy. If you say that, people don't respond well to you being sad when they hurt you, you don't let them see you be sad. You don't let them see you, deal with all these things. And because of alexithymia is a condition where we don't necessarily respond to our meat body signals. And
no, that's
our meat
interoception.
Sorry, alexithymia. But where we don't respond to the emotions, the feelings. Tell us about the difference between feelings and emotions.
Okay. Interoception is the ability to sense inside of our bodies, right? And so when we're experiencing a sensation like your tight gut, or maybe your chest feels heavy, or maybe you're hungry, right? Like an easy interoceptive cue that many of us, but not all of us, recognize is the need to go to the bathroom. And we may not recognize it super early, but eventually at some point, many of us recognize that. But those are all interoceptive cues. Emotions and connecting language to emotions, and the difficulty with connecting language to emotions, that's alexithymia.
Tell us about that, because that can be a problem for us. Because, for instance, I have difficulty telling whether or not I'm worried that I'm going to be abandoned, or I just ate Papa John's.
Right. And so if that's the case, in a situation where you'd actually had Papa John's, I mean, the first criteria would be like, did you have Papa John's? Because if you didn't have Papa John's, then we can, eliminate that branch of the logic tree.
That's the first question I ask any patient upon coming in. Yeah, just to make sure. Yeah, we screen out a lot of stuff that way.
And if you did, the bathroom's there.
Yeah.
Poor Papa John's. But let's say you did have Papa John's, and also something happened that made you sort of in that difficult to recognize space. It might be that you're struggling to recognize what the sensations are that are happening in your body. That would be more of an interoceptive leaning issue. It might be something where your emotional appraisal of the situation is at more active, and you can't put words to it, and you can't identify the concept that goes with the word, or it doesn't quite fit. And this, a lot of times people who are alexithymic, often it's also a language specificity issue, like
yes,
or they don't realize that they're experiencing multiple emotions, and so they're trying to identify what they're experiencing when in fact it's more like a salad bowl of emotions. Right?
I use the gummy bear metaphor, whereas one emotion might be happiness, one emotion might be sadness, one might be ennui. Look that one up.
Might be. I know what ennui means.
Oh well, yeah. The listeners. I'm speaking to you, my favorite listener, my good friend, my podcast listener. You are the only one. Yeah, but yes. So, but we have our gummy bears. Yeah, our gummy bears are melted together into an amorphous, multi-flavor, multicolored gummy that it takes us a while to chew and to chew and to chew and finally to digest, because it's all mixed together. And this goes in with our need to have extra processing time to sort out the ambiguous blob of feelings and thoughts and everything that resides within us.
Right. Well, and it also goes back to what I was talking about last time about the, the 72 DPI versus the 1200 DPI, right?
Yes.
When we're taking in 1200 DPI data, right, we've got so much more data to sift through.
We do.
Versus the 72 DPI where you're like getting the gist of it, right? We have all of these pieces to sort through, and so there's more opportunity for there to be complexity and multiple blended concepts at once and multiple blended experiences at once. And so it can be very difficult. The other fun thing, and this is maybe a teaser for next time, because I can see we're getting close to the half hour mark, is sometimes people who are synesthetic can have, so synesthesia is the link between two unrelated senses. So one of the composers that I studied when I was in music school, I want to say it was Messiaen. Anyways, he would hear colors.
Ooh.
Right? And now I would love to hear colors. And my understanding is that, like, you can do this to some degree with, like, shrooms and LSD. I've not tried that. Please do not consider this an endorsement. But for some people, they may have a similar experience.
Our sponsors today are Papa John's and Super Mario.
And, but anyways, it's two unrelated sensory systems getting cross-linked in a non-standard way.
And with our hyper-connected brains, that happens statistically more often for us than... Yeah.
And so fun fact for those of you who are therapists out there, if you have someone who is alexithymic but also is synesthetic, ask them if they have a synesthetic experience linked to their emotions, because that might be a doorway in.
That's neat.
Isn't that fun?
If anyone, you, my favorite listener, if this happens to you, please write us a comment in the show. There are other listeners, but they're not my favorite. You are. You're absolutely my favorite. Don't worry about the others. But yes, write us a note. Tell us about this, because I think that this is something that we definitely want to explore. And again, as autistic professionals in this field, studying autism, studying people who are autistic, we need a database of, not that we reveal the database, but, we need to study autistic-related traits like this to understand how to better help autistic people and how to better understand us, so that we don't get more stuff like Cassandra Syndrome going on. So,
right, and we need to do it in a way that, whatever your style is fine, right? We need to do it in that way that's like completely value neutral. Like, your style is your style, and I'm not going to tell you your style is good or bad. It just is.
Because we here at the Autistic Validating Our Identity, Culture, and Experience podcast validate our identity, culture, and experience.
Yeah, and other people.
Otherwise, we'd be hypocrites.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But that said, we are coming up on time. We have a lot more to talk about, so join us next week. And at some point, we got to cover Superman. We got to cover Murderbot. We've got to cover a lot of things. We're probably going to cover more attachment styles. We're going to cover lots of therapy. We're going to have our rowdy autistic friends on. Kate has already said he wants to join us for a bit, so we're going to have a lot more to talk about. And we're going to add music somehow as soon as we figure out where that music button is. But
that's right.
We'll figure things out. We will see you soon. Have a good one.
Bye, everyone.